Hello, everyone. Welcome to our painting webinar number. Who cares? We stopped numbering them. It doesn't make any sense. Today is Friday. It's September 18th. So September is essentially gone. But it's a beautiful day, and we're just so happy that you decided to spend part of this amazing, gorgeous day with us painting collectively. We never take it for granted, and we really appreciate it. We think we have a great assignment today, and we moved from landscape to portraiture. I love that we constantly do 180 changes. So I'm excited. Some of you have seen the images on the folder. If you don't have one and you want one, there's plenty to choose from. And if you're watching from the future, so thanks for registering, and the folder still is up for grabs. We're just gonna do the assignment, 2 hours. At the end of the 2 hours, 10-minute break, and then we'll do critique time. And we encourage you to upload if you have a little bit of progress. It helps everybody. Yeah, so no introduction. This is what we're gonna do. I am gonna jump right ahead. Hi, Jen, how are you?
Hi, awesome. How are you?
Good. Yeah. So thanks, and you are incredible, and thanks for being on the other end, but at the same on the same dimension. So you make things better,
So we think.
you know.
No, my
Right.
pleasure. It's awesome.
Thanks. You let me know if there's any weird thing with my internet. We had a power outage last night, and I hope it's gonna be okay, but I think it's pretty stable. But you let me know if sound or something like that, it's not super stable.
Will
And
do.
perfect. And then in that sense, really briefly, perhaps I just wanted to point out a couple of things. I'm going to share the folder. I'm not going to go over specific details or conceptual elements, but something important that I wanted to say. We cropped all the images 9 by 12, so they all have the same proportions, some horizontal, some vertical. And we cropped them in a way that felt dynamic and interesting. So that's going to be the proportions of our formats. I'm doing 12 by 16, but the majority of you guys, I think, are doing 9 by 12, which is perfect for the image. So in regards of composition, just make sure that when we arrange, you have enough space and it's something that you feel goes well with the format, its orientation, and its size. In regards of the style, so we brought in images of tronies, this very popular style of portraiture, famous during the 16th century. It doesn't mean like we have to make things realistic. That's the reason why I'm sharing this screen. So obviously all these images, this is from the 1700s, but all these images, they're highly realistic, although I love that there's some impressionistic elements to them. They're well proportioned. The light is nicely rendered. So this is a Franz Hals. We're not supposed to achieve, or the goal is not to create a Franz Hals look-alike. Of course, I'm just gonna even pass this one. So we have the photos, and we're just gonna do our own recreation of those images based on our own style. It will be representational, but don't feel like you have to be extremely realistic. So it's an opportunity to work with a figure, and yeah, so it's an opportunity to work with a figure and that's it. So that's going to be an opportunity to explore our habits and what we have practiced before or we haven't practiced at all. Um, and the only thing I wanted to say is that the inspiration was this painting by Monet, and I found a painting that has, it seems to have a more accurate color scheme. The one that I showed in the last webinar was very yellow and orange. This seems to be the most accurate colors. But one thing that I didn't see in the painting is that I did a close-up of the figure, is that there are two figures in this painting. I know that some of you watched the inspirational video or the inspiration video. The other figure is Jean Monnet's mom sitting by the table. I totally missed it when we did it on Friday. And when I was reading the Google Museum something, Google has a bank of high quality images of paintings and artworks. I read two figures and then I was like, wait, where is the other figure? So yeah, it's in the back, it's sitting down, she's not facing her child. I think it looks like she's facing a different direction, but then her head is looking at her child, it seems like. So it was a total shocker, and I just did a close-up. It's you can see the skirt all the way to the herringbone parquet, but I just thought it just blew my mind. Monet was today, and then these are all the images, and you guys chose well, and I'm really excited. I'm just gonna spotlight my working area and later. So I think this is gonna be okay. And I asked Jen to send me a picture of Henry in front of the computer. I know that in addition to being partner in crime for this and the time that she spends, she is also a school teacher and a mom and a lot of things. So I know that she has a lot on her plate and she has to juggle all these things. So I just asked her to take a picture of Henry, and that's my reference image. And so let's get it started. Format 12 by 16, and what I'm going to do is my potato shapes first. And yeah, so I look at the distance between the main figure and the edges, and the edges. So since I have things like much closer to the edge, and I have this regular thing, so perhaps what I'll do right now is just draw this element. I'm using charcoal, soft touch. I don't want hard lines. I want to make sure that I'm able to rearrange. So, and that's what I'm doing. I work fast. I'm going to spend some time with the composition, and then I'll do the potato shape. Just a silhouette. So we can really break down the complex and detailed photographs into very simple shapes. This is an exercise in extracting the masses of things that are featured on the photograph. So we have to use simplification. So the way I do it is, or the way I did it in this example is, since this is taking almost like 25% of the drawing area. So I am just doing that first. And then, yeah. As I said, this is not a contest to find out who could paint like Franz Hals. Not at all. In fact, I just think that the more genuine we can be to our own style, the stronger the painting. So I'm not expecting likeness or anything like that. Tronies were particularly interesting in the sense that they were not commissioned and they were not supposed to represent anyone recognizable at the time. The painters used models, but that was not the purpose of that portrait genre, which I find really interesting because at the time, everything was about the social status and then patronage. And all the painters only did figures that were able, number one, to pay for the portrait, number two, that were in a socio-economic level or high socioeconomic level. So I learned about the tronies or the style tronies not a long time ago. I would say maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was not familiar with it. I didn't know, but I found it very, very interesting. And now when we're able to go to a museum, you'll see that it's something that it's quite popular, especially a museum owns paintings from that time and even later, but there's always images of someone making a face. So you'll know now that that's a tronie. What I liked about this assignment is the fact that tronies don't necessarily have to be always and all the time faces, exaggerated faces. The Vermeer girl with a pearl earring shocked me in the sense that some people consider that as a tronie, as a portrait of someone who is not recognizable, someone who wasn't identifiable at the time and had a facial expression. All right, so I think I'm okay. Let's just, before we go into facial features, which is sort of like what we always want to do first, I'm just going to find out how much I want the background to be featured. So based on my image, I'm deciding right now. So a good idea for the table, what I do is instead of like doing one side and the other, I do the whole thing because then I know the continuity of the table. So I think for now, I'm just gonna simplify the background and I wanna concentrate on what is conceptually significant in this painting, which for me is the figure of the, the figure and the object. So the relationship between them, the fact that it's not an open sort of like interaction at all. It's not a classical portrait in the sense that the person's looking at the viewer or anything like that. There's not an intention. There's not an intention of someone sitting for the painter. So there are certain aspects of this images that I find very interesting, different, new, modern, and that I want to make sure I capture. Is the background important? In my understanding or the way I see this, it is not. So I have a little bit of floor right here, and I may do something because I like this diagonal line. And I may use that diagonal line to counterbalance the diagonal line of the laptop. So we'll see. But for now, I'm not gonna go there. So once I have that, I'm gonna do the structural lines. I think I'm gonna start coming up with a different name to define what structural lines are. But essentially, or in a nutshell, structural lines are lines that break up the main potato silhouette into smaller parts. So clear ones on a portrait are the hairline, the chin line, and the neckline. Those three are the major structural lines on a portrait that I want to make sure I do first before I do any facial features. So always open-minded, always, I'm gonna start with the neckline. Always knowing that this is a sketch, the function of the sketch is to help me map out. It's supposed to be a draft. It's not supposed to be a final thing. It's supposed to give me flexibility to make changes. So I want to make sure that I keep that aspect of the sketch really on the forefront, on top of my list. I just want to make sure that I can move things around. I'm going to do the chin and then I'm just going to continue perhaps with a hairline. Um, I'm going to repeat this a million times. The goal is not to create likeness specifically or specially or particularly because we're doing a modern trony. I hate that word. I mean, I hate that word. I shouldn't say that. I don't hate any words, but it's such a weird word. I forgot. I think it has a French origin. I forgot. Jen, you may, if you have like a time in between the million things you're doing, you may want to revisit tronies on Wikipedia and find out the origin of the word. I believe I read it was a French origin. So yeah, likeness wasn't part of this exercise, challenge, whatever you want to call it. It was not part of it. Okay, so then I think I'm okay with this. All right, first thing that I'm going to change. So on my image, what I didn't consider is the fact that the face is facing forward or full frontal or frontal view. So we have a tendency of making things way too symmetric and way too static. And I realized that on the photograph, there's a slight tilt on the head of the figure that I did not capture on the sketch. I'm only seeing it now, and possibly what would have helped, which I'm going to do right now, it would have helped if I would have done an axis line that would run through the center of the figure. I don't know if you can see this, and then do the same or a similar axis line on my portrait. So right now I realize that I'm going to exaggerate even a little bit more, but I need that tilt. I just feel like that's going to give more of a sense of less rigid figure. So I think that's good in the sense that I was able to capture it. And then I'm just going to bring the ear a little bit closer since I moved the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on the facial features. Okay, so things to consider. We generally put the heads and the shoulders really close together, but I feel like for the images that we cropped and selected, there's a sense of abandonment. So the figure, it's not showing, or the spine, it's not showing the tension that requires to get the head or keep the head up and then open the chest. So most of the figures in sitting positions, especially when there's no interest whatsoever, there's this sinking and non-tension on the back, on the spine. So look at your figure, look at your silhouettes, look at the photograph, and find what kind of strength or tension happens, or imagine what kind of strength or tension happens on the spine, because I think that's going to be crucial to create either one painting that shows this sense of abandonment and disdain and languid sort of like abandonment, or the fact that we paint something or someone really paying attention. It would be completely different and two different conceptually two different paintings, and the only difference would be how much tension we put on the spine. So in that sense, look at where the neck is and look at where the head is compared to the shoulders, because you may want to even sink it more to exaggerate that expression. So I think, yes, Jen. Oh, I thought you were going
You could hear that. I just found out that trony is a 16th or 17th century Dutch word for face. It's also related to the French word Trone, or I don't know, it's Trogne. And that word is slang for mug or head.
In French.
Yes.
Wow, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. And I like that. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. So there you have it. I think that explains. So, all right. So I think I'm okay with how far I've gone so far. I'm checking the time because, as I usually say, it's important to be good time managers when we are creating. Because otherwise, being unaware of how much time we have left um, will make us focus on detail too early in the process. This is a very intense, engaging activity. So we want to make sure that we don't just burn all this fresh creative juice that we have right now, and then we end up with nothing uh, very developed. So that's why time management is a good idea. So 20 minutes in, 23, 25 minutes in, I think this is a good time to incorporate a slight sense of facial features right now. Portraiture requires a little bit more planning in the sense of um, spending time, a little bit of extra time with the sketching. So last week was very good. The landscapes were quite simple, and we just went right ahead um, with the wash, with the staining. But with this, when a portrait is involved, I like to spend a little bit more time. So now that I have this sorry, now that I have this, I'm going to start with portrait. I always do eyebrows first, lines later, bottom of the nose, mouth, and that's my order. Always start with the arches of the eyebrow because um, it's a good foundation, even though I start from above. Um, so I know how separated they are, how far they are from the sides of the profile. And then this is a good image because it specifically pinpoints what the keystone is, which is the bridge of the glasses. It's the point or the stone or the area on the face that connects the head of the eyebrows and the tear ducts. So this is good. I'm just gonna do the shape of the shape of the glasses. I'm not gonna do the eyes inside. Bottom of the nose, I'm gonna support my decision based on the shape of the glasses. My decision meaning how lower it's gonna be. And then the lips. So very simple for now, very simple for now. I can make changes as I go forward. I think that's okay. Let me just remove the axis to make sure. And then what I'll do, so if you notice, this was the last thing I did, not the first one. I did not do any facial features for 25 minutes. Of course, I started sketching a little bit later, but I just wanted to make sure that that was emphasized, because generally what we do is we start with the facial features. What happens when we start with the facial features? We don't know how the rest of the subjects in the painting are going to land. And then we find ourselves wishing we could start anew, or grabbing a pair of scissors and cutting things, which is not recommended at all, and being really frustrated. Start with the potato shapes, consider the format. I didn't do it this time, but I remember one time that I did kind of like a bleed, an area um, that allowed me to be crystal clear about how far I would go with the sketching. It happens time and time again. Sometimes we have things in our composition that are not ideally where it becomes easy to observe the painting. So we make it really hard for the viewer. So contemplate that because it will show up later. I'm just going to do a little bit of the shading. So I feel like I have a lot of contrast, and that's going to help me also come up with new criteria. For example, I already love what's happening because I'm creating visual planes. This is not a landscape, but by doing this, I'm already pushing the figure back to the back and then bringing an object forward. So so then I understand that this perhaps it's going to have much more importance than the figure. Who knows? So the more pressure you put on the paper or against the paper with a charcoal, the more charcoal is gonna be on the surface, the painting surface. Remember the difference between painting surface and format. And then, yeah, I just, this final stage of the sketching, I'm sorry that I'm being so scattered. It's the most important. Why? For many things. One, it's because it's going to allow me to articulate or unpack or deconstruct the different values in the scene. I want to make sure that I know what's darker and what's lighter, where are the highlights, where's the light coming from, is there a light direction, is it artificial light, is it direct light? So all those things are very important. So when I shade, I not only make it prettier, that's the last thing, it's in the back of my mind. I don't want to make it look good. I want to facilitate my successive or my future stages. So breaking it down into values is the best way. The second best thing about this, or the reason why this is so important, is that when I fade the linear aspect of the sketch, then I'm able to establish better relationships. So I will see things that I am sure I will want to adjust. So that's the second most important thing. This is like, this vine is a little, okay, so I squint my eyes. I just want to see what are the differences. I'm looking at the face. I see there's one side that's slightly shaded. There's not much contrast, but it's enough to tell me where the light's gonna be coming from. The neck is a little bit darker naturally. The nose is darker on this side, the bottom of the glasses. I'm not trying to be accurate. I'm not trying to be perfect or dainty or exact. I love the messiness of and untidiness of the portraits that Monet did. So there's something that I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that at all. The ground, the floor. I love the fact, you know, we'll see how much time I have, but I love the fact that there's a hardwood floor for the simple reason that I'm completely in love with the herringbone parquet. I just want to say the words herringbone parquet over and over and over again. I'm so sorry. It's just so fancy. Herringbone parquet, come on. So anyhow, so since this is a hardwood floor, I just may end up adding it because of the conceptual connection between this image, 2020, and the 1870, I think it was 1870, the year that Monet painted that masterpiece of a portrait. Whoever has herringbone pattern in their homes, please add it to the chat. I want to see who am I going to invite to dinner. I'm totally joking. Who has herringbone pattern? I don't care if it's tiles or linoleum. I don't think that's something that's very modern.
I think it is. I think it's definitely cool.
Oh, really?
And stylistic amazingness. So I bet you more have it than we think.
Okay, good. I'm gonna keep you as my friend, Jen, then.
Yes. Thank you, friend.
I'm totally joking. Oh my gosh. So anyhow, so speaking of Monet, I think I'm really happy about this. So, and time-wise, it's not too bad. Half an hour for this. I think this is okay. And I'm gonna reimagine. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not, but I'm gonna reimagine the floor continuing on the back. It's gonna be something about that perspective that I think I want to capture. We'll see. We'll see if I keep it. So it's just like browsing social media, the good slave that I am. So I just realized that there was a Monet kind of like headline in the news today. And Jen, you're going to help us retrieve that photo. So Sotheby's, which is along with Christie's, it's one of the most important auction houses in the entire planet, has this very secret deal. I really don't know. I'm going to be completely, although I hate every single conspiracy theory there is in this world, but there's something fishy here. So they just posted today an image of a Banksy piece that consisted of a painting of Monet of the water lilies with a Japanese bridge. And then, so Banksy, supposedly, I don't think Banksy paints, but I think he's so rich that he has someone who does this for him. I'm sorry, I don't have a good opinion of Banksy, although he's doing supposedly amazing things. And we should all kind of like bow to him, but no, I don't think we should. But anyhow, so in 2005, he did a recreation of the Monet, one of the Monet paintings of the water lilies. And then on the water of the pond, you can see sections of a shopping cart and then also an orange cone, almost like thrown as trash. So the water pond the pond has been trashed. And then this was supposed to be an allegory to the damages of consumerism and how the environment is going to hell in handbasket because we all want to purchase unnecessary stuff. So it's the same size as the real Monet, and then he even framed it with a gold frame, and then the title is Show Me Your Monet, instead of like playing with the money, Monet, so Show Me Your Monet. So Sotheby's today pops up on my Instagram and says that you can go to their Bond Street office, and if you say the secret words to the staff, show me your Monet, they will take you to a private room where this painting is. And you can only do that until tomorrow night, because then the painting's going to be up for sale. So when I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect, because we're doing Monet, we're studying Monet, and then this is just kind of like a way of making another connection. So I was happy, and I was like, this is clever, oh my gosh. But then I was like, okay, wait a second. How much was the latest, the last painting up for auction which Sotheby's also sold. So the last painting sold by Sotheby's by Banksy was $12 million. $12 million, okay. So uh, this is a Monet recreation that's supposed to criticize consumerism. And then, wait a second, so how did this end up in Sotheby's hands? And now the piece that's supposed to kind of like enlighten us about not buying things, it's going to get sold for at least $12 million. I just needed to figuratively go to the toilet because that's pretty disgusting. But anyhow, Jen, if you can find, it's very easy. It's going to be in everyone's feed and uploaded.
Yeah, it's up. It's already up.
Oh, it
You
is?
got it. It's up already, my friends.
It's on the current folder, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was super happy at the very beginning, and then I was like, oh, I don't know. So let me just share it, and so this is the painting. Show me the Monet. It's hilarious. It's a great joke. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. I love the idea. It's clever. It's smart. It's intelligent. It is a criticism on consumerism. He is brilliant in the sense that he uses someone that's so mainstream. He makes a copy of it. And then he kind of like puts these elements. So it's brilliant, right? Except that nobody knows how Sotheby's got a hold of it, and now it's going to be sold. It's going to make the news. You're going to hear about it this weekend for sure, because my guess is going to go higher than the 12 million. So in the latest auction, Banksy was very upset that, so he claims, very upset that Sotheby's sold it for $12 million. I don't know if you remember the time when there was that balloon girl that in the middle of the auction, there was a mechanism in the frame and it started to shred the minute that it got sold. And then mysteriously it stopped shredding. So now the painting or the object itself, it's worth gazillions of dollars. It was Sotheby's as well. I think it was Sotheby's, yeah. So conspiracy theory that I don't like. Does he have a connection with Sotheby's? As an activist, you know that in 2005, he was famous in 2005. You know that this painting is gonna be worth millions of dollars. How, where, who did you sell it? Did you just give it to them? Are you gonna get a cut of this sale? That's my conspiracy. I think there's a secret agreement between Sotheby's and Banksy, and good for him. I would probably do the same if their cut would be like 20%. We all have to live, but I'm just gonna go back to this because that's what you guys are here for. But I just saw it today, and then I almost made a post, but I don't want to contribute to the negativity of the world and have yet another reason to be depressed. So I'm just kind of like want to share it with our private circle, and then we can talk more about it if you guys want later. So darker to lighter, I'm going to use neutrals. It's the same palette as last week. I have two whites, I have two blacks. I'm going to do this kind of like fancy thing. So I have the two whites, the titanium and the zinc, titanium first and zinc one a little bit less. I have the Portland gray medium, a gray will do. I have my two blacks, the cold one and the warm one. The cold one, it's a Payne's gray. The warm one, it's a Van Dyke brown. I have my browns here, the four browns, raw umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and titanium buff. AKA ecru, because everything sounds better in French. So, and then these are the two light neutrals, but I feel like I want to come up with a different term. We use them to create effects, light effects, cast light, light temperature. There are a lot of things that are cool, warm, and there's this wonderful lavender-like light that bathes a lot of the objects. So I didn't put anything else. If I see a different color that I will need later, but the two liquids I forgot, but I'm doing mineral spirits and then a combination of a medium and an oil, just because the oil alone, I feel like it takes a little too long to dry, and the medium alone, it takes too little to dry. So I just kind of like mix them together. And I'm just gonna start with, actually, I'm gonna do the warm black, darker to lighter, because I did the charcoal for a reason. And the reason is to break down the order of things, right? So that's what I'm following right now. I let the charcoal guide my order of brush strokes. So I don't kind of like sit here and say, okay, well, I'm just going to do the face right now. I'm being very disciplined I'm trying to be disciplined in just washing darker to lighter and letting the charcoal just guide me. So, and yeah, I'm gonna try to use as only neutrals if possible. And yeah, so I could just summarize or kind of like determine which neutrals I'm gonna use, and that's okay. And I'm just gonna do maybe yellow ochre. Just gonna do table yellow ochre. Yeah, why not? I can just make it a little warmer. And I'll do the background as well with yellow ochre. So I'm trying to go by value. I'm on the stage where I transition from dry to wet. Thinness of the paint, very important. I'm not using any combination of liquids. Turpentine exclusively, a little bit of paint. So just to kind of like remind myself, because sometimes I forget. I'm deciding I'm gonna for now remove the paper and the marker. I just don't think I need it based on the time that I have left and all the details. Does it mean that's going to be permanently out? No, it doesn't. I may just decide I want to incorporate something that looks like there's some work. But I feel like this conceptually also enhances this idea of a closed interaction between machine and figure, and nothing else kind of like matters. I'm going to do something similar on the background in regards of like yellow ochre. So this stage is pretty simple in understanding what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to seal the paper, or prime the paper, I'm sorry, prime the paper and seal the charcoal. So that's the main goal. And I know I'll be done with this when the whole paper is pretty much stained. I like to do it this way, and the reason is because I like to explain the steps. So most people, what they do is they do the wash first, and then they sketch on top. That's a very popular, common way of approaching this process. I find more difficulty when I have something wet underneath. I prefer to sketch it first. It's a matter of a habit. And I feel like for me, it's better to explain it. One of the main things that I think it's important, especially at the beginning, it's to slow us down. Because I feel like we just, we want to hit the ground running, and then we start going so fast that we overlook things that are very important. So that's why I like to do this sketch first on dry paper and then move to wash. So I don't have accent colors. The only one, it's the blue sticker, which I like. I may just do later, but pretty much the rest, and the glasses, the color on the glasses. I think I'm just gonna, let's see. I just want to make sure that the color here is organized in a way that doesn't take away or distract us from the idea of the painting. So I'm gonna refer back to Monet's stage scene for the figures. It's so theatrical, it's so operatic, you know, the painting in the corner of the apartment. Everyone's in the dark. I love that the lights are off. And the figure, there's no bright color there except for the curtains that invite you to the stage. I cannot stop thinking of that painting. I think it's masterful in so many levels. It's I think it's one of the best paintings in the universe right now, in the world. So um, I'm just gonna do the pillow. I love that there's this synchronicity with the background, so that may work. And then some gray, using a big brush. I should have said that. And, all right, good, thanks. Thanks. Oh my gosh. Never mind. So I'm gonna do a very pale ecru tone on the face. I think it's okay if we lose definition. It's totally fine, and I don't freak out. I understand that I'll be able to do it, and it's gonna be much better. So there you go. I just lost that, but I will recover it, and I think that's good. Yay! So excellent. I'm a little bit behind compared to other stages, but that's okay because I need to understand that this requires a certain more time in certain areas. It doesn't mean like I have to beat myself up in that sense. I could do this at the same time and have a different look. So I'm happy about this result, and I'm gonna bring up the fact that I tried to work in a way that each stage could be considered final. I know that that seems really preposterous. I think that word could apply to this, but the idea is that if you do the sketch, if you do the potato shape, try to do it in a way that imagine that that's the only thing that you could do today. So what kind of potato shape stage you want to leave as a legacy to the day? So that's the approach, and that's the idea, and that's the sentiment that I bring to every stage. The power could go down now, but I know that I would be happy with this kind of like stage of the wash, and I would feel like I honored the subject and the painting. So I try to move forward one step at a time with that spirit and sentiment. So anyhow, let's do first notes. I have 10 minutes for first notes, so that's completely unrealistic, but that would put us in the middle of the session. So what are first notes, first of all? So I'm switching gears. I'm going to repeat, first of all, it's a repetition. I'm going to repeat what I've done with the wash, but I'm going to use a medium brush. And now I'm going to switch from the mineral spirits to the concoction of medium and oil that I have. And I'm going to go back again from darker to lighter, computer, laptop, table, hair, background, and ending with the face with the ecru. But this time the consistency of the paint will be a little bit thicker. And I may incorporate, or I may do a combination of other colors. So one important thing, I don't know if it's it applies right now, but one important thing right now, one important thing to say is that most oil painters, and I'm just gonna frame the demographic, old, dusty, conservative, old, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that word, it's offensive, but applied to that demographic, purist, traditional oil painters. When it comes to mixing, they generally are all in the same opinion that we shouldn't use too many colors at once. So it is something that I think I may have to agree, because sometimes when we try to create a color, we start pulling from different colors that we may have. And eventually over time, I think it's mine, Julie. All right, so if it happens again, I'm gonna restart my computer and my modem. So I just want to make sure.
It is a little glitchy, Julio. I don't know if you can hear me. It is a little glitchy. It's hard to tell, you know, whose side it's on. Is it, yeah, is it on mine? Is it on yours? It's so hard to tell these days.
Okay,
Yeah, Julie says, I think it's mine. Anyone else having issue?
Yeah, why don't we do this? Because I think I'd rather just start fresh. You guys concentrate on the first notes if you have, if you are right now. Nothing's gonna, oh, but then we'll just have to incorporate everyone else. Yeah, never mind. Okay, let's just kind of like stay, right, Jen? And then see if it's, but if it's glitchy, it's not a very comfortable situation. So I just want to make sure that, let's just wait until the first hour and then let's do a vote. If we restart again and then re-enter or continue, how's that?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, yeah. So it may be me, and I'll just have to reset everything. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Julie. Always, yeah. That's for me. That's I'm very picky with that. So I can I find it I find it such, now I'm glitchy. I find it such a disturbance that it becomes very distracting. So all right. So I'm just gonna medium brush and using this brush, and then the thicker medium, and then I'm just gonna go ahead. But what I was saying, which I agree with that demographic, so you can just label me all the awful words that I said, that yes, it's a good idea not to mix things with too many colors, because we're better off finding kind of like formulas with as little combination of paints as possible, even if it doesn't match, than trying to pour or mix from as many as we can, hoping that something's gonna come up. So it's something that it's in the back of my mind, and I try to apply, because I know that otherwise the habit will be to start mixing different colors at the same time. So again, this kind of like dusty old conservative rule, don't mix too many colors. Okay, so there we go. Just using the medium brush and then creating, maybe what I'll do is I'll bring a tad of gray, because it's not super black. Yeah, a tad of gray. I think that's good. It just gives me enough opacity, and it just gives me this sense of plasticky surface. I wonder if there's an option to reset Zoom meeting. I know that the previous software that we use, Webinar Ninja, they allowed us to do reset and not miss or lose the room. If there's anyone else who's experienced this glitchiness, put it on the chat, because that would be a confirmation that my connection may not be very good. So if we don't hear from you, it means that on your end, you're fine with the technical aspect. And by glitchiness, meaning like more than usual. All right, so this is my first, it's my first note. This is what a first note looks like. I reapplied what I did but with a little bit more paint. One of the articles that I was reading was saying that if we have such a hard time standing in front of a screen, you know, it's exhausting and it's not easy and it's not the same. Imagine kids. Again, we do this because thank goodness for technology that we are able to connect. It has limitations, but it also has positive aspects. But if we have to go through this, and you know, sometimes it's frustrating. We have some people that are on Zoom all day, and the last thing they feel like doing is kind of like continue Zooming when they're not working. So imagine children. So thank you again. I think everyone's back, and I think if there are any more glitches, let me know, but I'm already, my connection is already a little bit stronger. So what was I doing? Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and continue, and we'll just make a little bit more time for later. And on the table, I'm doing some, yeah. So what I'm doing is this. I'm just now still doing second. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Julie. So I'm kind of like doing color samples, and I started with this yellow ochre, but right now I just want to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say accurate, but sort of like closer. So what I do is to do color samples. Now, I am extremely lucky that I have Kinko's nearby, and it's not super crowded. So I actually go there and I print, just because I only have one iPhone, and then I use it as a second camera. Well, it doesn't matter the explanation, but otherwise I would need another device. So, and also it's good for webinar purposes, that you can see the image right next to the photo, I think. If you don't have anything printed, you can still put your brush in front of the screen and then see if that is approximate or if you're okay with it. So, so that's what I'm doing right now. And it's usually a way to test the color formula. Now, how much is too much in regards of, I'm bringing back what I said about traditional conservative oil painters, recommending not to mix too many colors to create paint. They don't say 3 tops, 4, and there's no rule in regards of like how many colors we should be able to mix together. But I do make an effort to not go overboard with creating a lot of a color with a lot of things in it. And usually I would say when I pass more than 4 colors, I know that it's just going to go south. It's not a strict rule, but I'd rather bring any of the colors that I may have in the box or something, but I know that I may be in kind of like dangerous territory. So I was able to make the table color just with 2 and 2 neutrals. How about that? So yeah, I think I did the right thing because of the power outage last night. I think the modem just started malfunctioning, and I'm glad I rebooted it. It's a first in the 27 weeks, which I'm not going to mention anymore because I feel like at some point you need to stop counting for your own health. At the beginning, I like counting, but then I also understand that it's not healthy. I'm very glad that I did that line at the very beginning, because otherwise this would have, even though there's a long span between both lines, our eyes are amazing organs. They would be able to see if there's not a connection or continuity. So I'm really glad that I did that. I like to use the medium brush, even though it's a large painting surface, because I like to create these hatched, uneven strokes. There's something painterly in that effect. So notice that I had some drips at the beginning, and then I did something, and that may be important as well, because if you feel like this happens to you, then I would ask you to consider changing something. I'm using paper, cotton paper. So, and what I did was I used the medium, as I said, and I used the black paint, but I used too much medium because I didn't want it too black. So because of it, it started to drip. It's not a bad sign. It doesn't mean like, you know, it's a bad, we're bad painters. But then if you remember, I said, I'm gonna bring some gray in order to lower the saturation of the black. Well, the reason why I also brought it, it's the fact that since I saw this dripping, I knew that I had too much medium on it. So if it drips, it's fine. But if it drips everywhere, there's certainly too much medium in your paint or in your mixture. So it's okay if it drips, but the ratio between the liquid and the paint, it's way too much on the surface. And I'm not saying that you need to put more paint. Perhaps the first steps would be to put less medium rather than soaking up or loading up the entire brush with a ton of medium and then putting it. Maybe you need more of a drier brush to do it. So it's not a matter of like having more paint or less medium only. I hope that wasn't extremely confusing. And if you didn't get it, I'll be happy to repeat it. And but it's not important for the purposes of anything. Hair. So I need to test. So there's definitely raw umber. Let me see. I'm just gonna check. There's definitely, but it's too dark. Too dark. So the best color to lift raw umber without using white is using ecru. So I think this totally does it, at least for now. So I'm gonna do the darker raw umber. I think the head's a little bit too big, but I'll see what I'll do later with the drawing. But for now, I'm still in the first notes. Yeah, the head's a tad too big. And just first notes blocking out. I'm already kind of like dabbling into second notes because I'm adding some lighter notes, and I shouldn't, but I'm doing it just to advance or catch up. And I think that's okay. All right, so I am gonna do the floor on the back, and I think I need to also cut it a little bit. So, oopsie. Okay, that's very good, actually. Hold on a second. Okay, good. Perfect, even better. All right, so yeah, it's a much chalky. It's much chalkier. So I think I need to bring, oh, that's not bad. Ecru, that's perfect reason to talk about why do we have ecru in our palette. Ecru, it's such a great color to blanch saturation. So yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. I feel like, you know, it's especially with neutrals, with ecru, you can soften, desaturate, make things a little bit chalkier. It just works. I just feel like such an important color in the palette. I need to ask that demographic and see what they think of ecru. All right, so there we go. There's a little bit of a sliver of ecru in the back, but it's too high. I think I'm just gonna have to change the drawing a lot. Whoops, oh yeah, that's floor. that is floor. So I'm still on the first notes. And what I'm doing is I'm repeating, going over, but this time with a higher consistency. And also I'm starting to incorporate a certain level or a certain color. Yeah, it's good. I'm so grateful that we're so grateful that you guys are here just because, not because we love hanging out with you and we love seeing the work that happens, but also because it's important to practice with figures. So sometimes, yeah, I mean, the Monet landscape was an incredible experience, obviously. And then jumping from the Monet to a portrait may feel like, oh, um, I'm not sure. But it's always a good idea. And I'm glad that we didn't wait too long to incorporate a figure. It's always a good idea to practice with a figure. Yeah. Okay, so this is my first note on the background, which I'll need to, and then the background is completely ecru. So I'm just gonna bring another ecru right here. And I just may need to cut this a tad. But yeah, I like the medium brush, as I said, just because I can create this scratchy texturized surface almost. I'm not really interested in smooth and flat areas, at least at the beginning. It's just, I feel like it's a trap for me. It's a trap for me, but yeah, first notes, working on background. I tend to do that as well. I tend to be very peripheral in the way I work. I put a lot of attention on the context, the location, the spatial, the idea of space, because it's extremely important and we completely overlook it. We think portraiture, we think portrait, and immediately we think that the most important part of the painting or the key to open that painting or reveal the painting, it's just going to be the face and the facial feature, and it's not the case. The space, the contextualizing of the subject is, to me, it's as important, but because it's overlooked, it's more important. You could have a portrait that has the background more developed and the figure underdeveloped, and it would be a good portrait. You may spend like days working on the eyebrows, and it would be another one. Throw it to the pile. Wow, that was not nice. All right, so I'm not gonna go to the face. Let's just kind of like do the gray and stick to that. Okay, that's good. Stick to the idea of darker to lighter. The lightest is the face in this case. So what I'll do is just wait until I do the rest, and then I'm just gonna move to the face. It's a little bit darker there, so I can just do second notes already. That's okay. The pillow on the background. I think that's good. I like that. So I'm just gonna do that. And on the other side, there's some green there. I'm not gonna bring green because I want the color to really get pushed back. If I bring a color right now that belongs to a different visual plane, it's just gonna come forward and then it's just gonna flatten my image. So how can I make green? So I'm just gonna bring some cold black and cold black, which is Payne's gray, and then yellow ochre. It's not green, but it's a kind of like a tarnished color. It's very greenish, actually. It's good. It's a perfect color. It's neutral. I'm just gonna do this wires. a little bit. And now I'm just gonna go to the face. So on the face, I did just ecru, which is barely visible. But right now, I have, let me just see, I need to make it pale. So a little bit of the pink with some ecru and find out what's that color like. Whoa, that's really good. That's really good. All right, so I got it. Just white as a base, and then a little bit of pink and a little bit of ecru. Again, a great color to have. A great color to have. I'm gonna mix some blue because I want to create a darker version of that color. Then again, supporting it with or backing it up with ecru. So only 3 colors. I'm playing with 3 paints or 3 colors, yeah. But going back to that, not overusing too many paints or mixing too many paints at once. I'm doing second note, so I don't have to be super careful about drawing aspects right now. I'm just piecing it together. It's a little bit darker, so maybe I'll use some warm black. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. Warm black just for the shadow. And then even for the space of the eyebrows. All right. So yeah. And then there's a reflection of the screen, which that's the reason why I love this image. It's the screen, the monitor is just reflecting on the glasses, on the glass. So I'm just gonna bring that. Again, choppy, not like a super detail. It's okay for now. And I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay with this being the first notes. I'm okay with it. Yes, time 12:20. Perfect. So I'm just gonna plot. I'm gonna plot the rest of the session. I'm just gonna give myself until, well, let's kind of like extend it until 1:15. Yeah, a little bit around that time. I feel like it's gonna give us the time or be able to catch up with the time that we lost. All right, so I think I like the computer, so maybe I'll just work. This is an important piece on the painting, in my opinion. So I think the most important areas for me are the 2 subjects, the machine, as I said before, and then the figure. So I think I'm just gonna give some second notes to the laptop because I feel like that's important and crucial, because right now the portrait is pulling my hair. It's saying, you know, develop me, make sure that I look like this or like that. It's just like screaming at me. But my job is to just recognize in silence what's important, what I want the painting to say. So I am going to work on the computer for 5 to 10 minutes just to give like some highs and lows. And then the rest of the session, I'm going to develop the figure. Yeah, and I need to bring a baseboard. That's important because right now there's no baseboard here and I feel like it's odd. All right, so that's what's gonna happen. And I think I still can work with the medium brush. Yes, I can. So right now I'm switching gears, meaning I'm gonna be working the same way, but I'm into second notes. And what are second notes? Second notes is when I don't work by value anymore. I work by location. And that means that I pick and choose the location I want to work on. In this case, I said for the reasons that I explained, it's going to be the laptop. And what I'll do is create darker and lighter versions within the laptop. So I am widening the range of values within the same color. This is not about adding more color just because we're painting, unless you really feel strongly about that. But I'm just gonna pull you back a little bit. It's not about that. Just because we're smearing some oily stuff on the painting surface doesn't mean like we have to constantly add color. Second nodes, get that object, find out the two previous layers that we did, and use the same color but create variations in value, darker and lighter. And that's what second nodes is. So I'm just gonna face it, and then it's pretty even. So what I'm gonna do is with a warm black and a little bit of gray that I have, I'm just gonna go over one more time, a third layer, because I want the black. It's a little bit more black. It looks like, yeah, it's barely noticeable, but it's gonna make a huge difference on this area right here. It's a little bit darker here. It's a little bit darker here, yeah. And then it just goes a little bit lighter on the other side. So I'm just gonna lift, oh yeah. Yeah, the slightest variation, already, the slightest variations of color, of value, will just elevate the work by itself. You don't need color to develop the work. You don't need color, you just need to create different values of the same color. I feel like it's my job to say this. Now, if you want to add color, then of course, do it. We talked about this like a, I don't know, episode, whatever, or webinar, whatever. I feel like even though we have our own style, I'm a strong believer that we should sort of like stick to certain premises, because I feel strengthening the basics will allow us to do whatever we want in our own style. So yes, just that. Jen, what are your thoughts on the Banksy thing? How did you feel at the beginning and later? Do you think I'm completely being super cancel culture like?
No, I think it's a good theory that Sotheby's had, or that, you know, he has some sort of major kickback or you know, something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Must be some sort of evil relationship.
Yeah, I don't know. So I see artists, for example, you know, yes, sorry. What else? Yeah, I'm.
No. You go.
No. um, so let's, the best way to sort of like, we always talk about being, we recently, thanks to what we're doing, we've recently been talking about the effort that we have to do almost every single day these days. Certainly for me, it seems like it's every single day. The effort to be on the right side of history when there's so many challenging things piling up. So sometimes, you know, rather than to find out where we want to stand, because there's always going to be voices that are going to make it tricky, and that's kind of like nonsense. But sometimes what I do is to go to other sources or other people that are outside of that equation and see what other people have done. In this sense, for example, to find out for me where I want to be in regards of like Banksy, because there's never a gray area. I mean, there are certain things that demand to be on one side. So I look at artists like, for example, Ai Weiwei. He's a major kind of like activist. His work is very political. Um, and he's getting his studio got destroyed. He's not part of auctions. You never see the work in auctions. He talks about human rights, and I don't know, there's something that if you look at his work, is he is in museums and he's successful, but it's very much political. And when you see the work and you read about it, and you understand, and it really creates an impact on the way we think. Um, so for me, to find out where I want to stand with Banksy, I look at other people that are currently doing some work, um, and what kind of like activism, and I don't know. I think it's important. What's the name of the artist? She did the Hammer Museum. Her work was brilliant. Did a retrospective recently. My gosh, I will remember. She has a photograph. She's walking in from the 70s. She's walking in New York City, and then she has a T-shirt that says "wet paint." And the Hammer did a retrospective. I forgot. So that's another example. The Gorilla Girls. The Gorilla Girls. It's a collective of women that are trying to um, destroy the patriarchy in museums and cultural institutions. And their work consists of publishing leaflets and I think not certainly paintings, and with messages that are ironic or really critical about how the worst aspect of the patriarchal conservative establishments work in the shadows. So these are artists that are talking about political things, and the work is not necessarily commercial. And yeah, so I feel like there are voices that are doing so much. And then there's Banksy. So he's not in the same league, obviously. I mean, it's not the first time that this happens with his work. So he's trying to be an activist, but he is part of the machine, whatever that means. So then I know what to think of his activism. So that's how I function in regards of like analyzing or thinking what are other people doing or saying. Let's just let me see what other artists are trying to do, and then I have the answer. So yeah, it's fake activism. It's just he could have and we've talked about it. He could have burned that piece. A lot of artists have destroyed their artwork when they thought that it was they're too commercial or something like that, or not put it up for sale, or I don't know. It's just like that's how I feel. And I mean, the latest news about Banksy. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you heard about this. He rented or bought a boat, and he in the Mediterranean, and he just started. He had a crew, and he started picking up immigrants in the water. So basically, there's a big problem in the Mediterranean. There are a lot of people who are dying, and they're just drifting to their own death. And governments or governments around them, they just don't want to pick them up. They're just like, no, not even like accept them to their own harbors, but they don't want to pick them up. So it sounds amazing. I mean, he's doing something, but he had a problem with the ship. I don't know exactly what happened. And so then there's that. There's that component of, is he trying to do something? Obviously he is. He opened a hotel in Palestine a few years ago, and exhibited a bunch of paintings there. But now the paintings are worth millions of dollars, and they're popping up in auctions. anyhow, it's all relative. We don't know half of the story, and we're making assumptions. But this was like, oh gosh, fake activism. I don't know. Anyhow, let's go back to what it's important.
Wait, no. I was just waiting for you to um to finish, but I wonder if
Yeah.
Banksy is Sotheby's.
Yeah.
You know, or vice versa. Like I think you're right on the money. You know, you look at artists that have a voice and a point of view, and it's usually pretty current, and um, it's usually reflective of what's happening, um, you know, within the world, or it evolves, or it gets more interesting, or more, I don't know, even more salacious, or you know, pushes boundaries. And I don't feel like Banksy does that anymore, or hasn't for a really long time. And it, I mean, unless he could just completely got out of the game, or if he never was a person and it was just this experiment, um, I don't know. There's a lot of questions I think around this supposed dude, but
Right.
it doesn't seem like he's evolving as an artist at all. And it just
Uh,
makes you wonder: was he ever a person? Was he ever an artist? Is this just a big joke? You know?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Latest example, and I don't want to take any more time on this because, but I think it's really interesting. The Whitney Museum. Some people call the Whitney Museum in New York City, famous museum. Some people now call it the Whitey Museum instead of the Whitney Museum. The latest controversy, they because of the Black Lives Matter, they snuck around artists who were selling work for $100 in order to raise funds to support Black businesses and kind of like keep the noise about all this. So they heard about it. They bought the pieces for $100. They didn't tell the artist, and then the Whitney wanted to do a Black Lives Matter exhibition showing the work that they bought in basements and streets for $100 without telling the artist what they were going to do. They just sent them a letter and they said, you know what, we're just going to give you a lifetime pass to the Whitney Museum. It was a big uproar, especially in New York City. We heard some of the controversy here, but then it was so bad that the Whitney Museum canceled the show, which was also the wrong way of doing it because they could have asked the donors to make the proper payments. Some people were saying, you're just making it worse now because this is an opportunity. Anyhow, so it was a big political controversy, but you know, you just saw that there are some artists that are trying to do things at their own scale. And so for me, that is art. There's this kind of like rebellious, I guess, or yeah, aspect of it, and how counterculture, I don't know, there's something about that that feels very much like art. I make a distinction between artist and con artist, and I feel like recently Banksy is more on the con side. I don't know, but certainly this just feels like a big con. The shredded balloon girl already was like, come on. But this definitely is number two. All right, so yes, sorry. Um,
And I found, I think are you thinking of Adrian Piper?
yes,
Okay, great.
thank you so much. Adrian Piper has been doing the work for decades,
Mm.
decades. Talk about racism and systemic racism since the 70s, um, and she's still alive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Where's her 20 mil?
I know, right? Yeah. So, but anyhow, so yeah. All right, so good. Thanks, Jen. That was very important because usually it's a good idea to always look outside of what's happening and then see what other people have been doing for decades and years, and then see, oh, well, now I get it. So if you want to find an answer to something, sometimes you have to ask someone else outside of the conversation. All right, I'm really happy that I did the laptop And I am gonna now, I'm so happy that I did the laptop. Oops, sorry. In fact, that right now, I'm just going to do a little bit of work also on the table to reinforce that idea of a table that it's not just, it's not a vertical table, it's a table that it's shown in a perspective of foreshortening. So I think what I want to do is to just create, again, second notes on the table before I move to the figure. So what I'm doing, I'm super happy about this. I have a couple of drips, but I'll just dab on them. But I want to um, work on the illusion or the idea that the table is foreshortened, it's flat, and this area should be a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to create highs and lows on the table. A little bit lighter on that side because it looks like the light's coming from this direction. So the more I piece things together, the more I understand the structure of the light. So I have two sources. There's a light coming from this side, and then there's a light coming from the laptop. So that affects every single surface on the painting. And unless I'm aware that that's happening and I almost like force my eyesight to recognize the differences on each of the surfaces, I won't be able to integrate the light in the painting. It would be kind of like painted by numbers. I mean, that's a total exaggeration, obviously, but yeah, the light is the third most important subject in any painting. I would say the first one. In this painting, it's not just the subject and the object. The light is the part of that trinity of elements that we should always consider. Certainly it was for the Impressionists. I also wanted to say, yeah, here we go. I think that's good. So a little bit of the foreshortened table. I need to cut, of course, one thing leads to the next. Now I understand that I need to cut to make sure that that's flushed. But I think time-wise, perfect. It's almost like 15 before 1. And again, we're just going to go a little bit after 1 until 1:15. And now I'm just going to concentrate on, the figure right now. So I think the background, I need to put a baseboard right there, but I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. All right, so medium or small brush. I'm gonna use a small brush, but keep my medium right there. And then I'm gonna start one area at a time. Let me just move the light because the reflection on the oil. And I'll need to do a few things, but mostly one step at a time. So darker to lighter. I'm gonna use Van Dyke brown. I'm obsessed now with the 2 blacks and 2 whites. And I feel like for me, the Van Dyke brown is like a darker version of the raw umber. So there are certain dark areas that with the raw umber, it doesn't get dark enough. So what I'm doing with a small brush, I'm just going back to my first notes in the hair. And I'm starting from darker to lighter. So darker first. And I try not to feel or to get trapped in that feeling of being overwhelmed. So when I feel like that happens, I narrow my vision, my field of vision, or whatever that's called. Yeah. So just I try to break it down. Try to break it down. Darker to lighter, always. It's always a good idea. All right, so darker to lighter, and just oh, and something about second notes that we didn't talk at all. So with second notes, what I do is I try to create, for example, this example right here. I try to create highs and lows within the same surface and using, if not the same colors, very similar, but I try to stick with that range. But then the second part of second notes is integrate that object with its surroundings. So it's always a two-step process. Work with values, but then see how it gets integrated. And what does it mean, get integrated? It means look at the edges, and are they super hard, or or do they create a highlight or a shadow around them? You always have to consider the surroundings of everything you paint with second notes. I'm saying this because on the hair, I did darks, but then with the background, which luckily it's a nice shade of ecru, I'm just gonna break in and try to create unevenness, unevenness. Sorry, just kind of like, and also work on the shape. So that's what I mean by integration. So it's not enough to just work on the highs and lows. Once you're done with the highs and lows, then find out how this gets integrated with its surroundings. And there you go. I'm going to bring some highlights and see maybe just with the ecru alone could be more on this side. How do you paint hair? So you have to create a layering of textures. Yeah. And with hair, follow the same direction in your brush stroke as the direction of the hair you're painting. So I love that the hair's, I think the word is disheveled, yeah. So, which means that it goes like in different directions. So what I try to do when I apply the brush strokes, I try to follow those directions. But then there's something that happens with a hairline, because we can just go about this and it's okay, and not a problem, and we can just see the edge of the hair if it's soft, frilled, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just concentrate on the words that I know. But then there's a part that it connects with the skin, and then depending on the hair growth, the hairstyle, it can become a problem, because how do we make it look like it's organically over skin? So what we have to do is, we have to work from both ends. So in other words, if we want to make like bangs on a face, it's not enough just keep pulling and combing down the hair color and hoping that that's going to give us a sense of hair over skin. We have to bring the skin color up to make sure that we shred those brush strokes that we did that should represent hair. Shred them so they become much softer by bringing the skin tone upward. So it's always, with hair and the edges of hair, it's always working, or it requires working on both sides, the side of the hair and the side of the background, whether that's background or skin. And usually you have to make 2 or 3 passes of that, because it's not enough for making like hairlines and then bringing the skin in and then I'm done. I have to work a few times or do a few passes working on the hair first, and then bringing the skin, and then going back to the hair and bringing maybe some darker, and then bringing the skin back in to shred it. So 2 or 3 passes, always from both sides. So I'm going to try to bring that example on this figure. So I said that the skin was white base with pink. Yeah, I brought ecru, but I think, let me see. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm gonna bring this in. Also, what's important here, it's the pressure of your brush. And that's what I like to use flexible bristles, because I barely put any pressure right now. And by not putting too much pressure, I'm able to really go in and create a line that's lighter than what I have. And remember, it's a challenge in oil to paint uh, uh, darker over lighter. So yeah. So if you notice, I'm just doing the hair. This is a little bit, it changes the color. It's a little bit more of warmer. So I'm bringing some of the burnt sienna on this side of the face. Again, the light comes in this direction. So the light is the major subject in this painting. So I just take care of it. So, and I have to make it a little bit lighter on the other side. So it's not just one shape, one color. That's, we did that years ago. It's now one shape, many values. That should be one shape, many values. So a little bit lighter. I'm still using titanium because right now, certain areas, just want to make sure that they are. Okay. All right. And don't be concerned if this is, there's likeness or there isn't, or it's okay. So right now, I'm going to bring back the hair one more time on top of it. As I said, I do more than one pass. So I worked on, I worked on the bangs on top, and then I worked on the skin to carve that background color. But then I'm just gonna work on the bangs again on top. And I'm not simply redoing them and that's it. Actually, I need to work on the skin before. And then I'll just work on the bangs one more time, one more pass. Soft, very soft brush stroke, because I want to make sure that it just, it has a shredded look. Yeah, I think that kind of like develops it a little bit more. Now, the hair is not matte. There's a sheen to it, a sheen to it. So remember, light being the third most important subject in all of our paintings. I think it's the #1 subject in all of our paintings. But anyhow, so how does the light materialize visually on this surface that I'm painting? That's the question that we should always ask ourselves, because there is a light reflection right here. So I did it on the computer. I did it on the table. How does it play out on the hair? Because when you consider that in each surface, then the light brings everything together. The scene becomes one. Usually we stop short of like asking ourselves, how does the light affect that surface? We just continue painting. We think detail is more important than light, and it's not. It never is. Detail is never more important than light. Period. So the light's a little bit lighter. So how am I going to bring this? Is it gray? Yeah, it's a little bit gray. Yeah, so let me see. This strand of hair has a range of value. All right, I'm going to say this one more time. I'm going to say that, yeah, it's working. It's working. I want to say this one more time. The light bouncing on the herringbone parquet in Monet's painting is out of this world. I will never be able to paint anything so amazing. To me, these kind of like works that come they're just basically the end of painting. Nothing else can be done after works like that. So anyhow, I was mentioning this because that's a good example of why the light's more important than the detail. If you just magnify that area, there's not that much detail, but it's the bouncing of that light that becomes the subject. So this is not just hair, it's a texture that receives a light from a direction and a kind of with a certain quality. That's what's important, not the strands of hair, not how much hair there is or how little, or if the color matches or if it doesn't match. It is relatively important. It's the light on it that is important because it brings together everything. And notice it, I didn't even touch the face. What I've done on the hair developed the portrait. So another reason why we shouldn't overwork faces too much, because we will gain more by working outside peripheral areas than by working on the face. We have it all upside down, and it's not our fault, but this is not the way we would think a portrait should be approached. All right, so I'm squinting my eyes. I'm gonna try to, now that I have a good stage on the hair, I feel like I wanna work more, but at the same time, time management, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave it, and then I'm gonna just dedicate my last 15 minutes to another area. I just wanna soften that halo and integrate it with the background. There you go. So I think that's okay. So it doesn't look like I trimmed it too much. I think that's okay. It's a little bit softer. Yeah, it just pushes it back. All right, so, but I need more. I want to do more. I see that drawing wise, this is too round and regular, that, you know, I need to shave this, but I'm just gonna move a little bit down and start doing the eyebrows, very soft. And I'm resketching them again. Here's the issue. I have white paint underneath, and now I'm trying to darken it, and I'm having a problem with that. Let's see. I'm just gonna put more of the paint and less pressure. That's usually how I work, and it's working. I don't have to redo it again. So this is enough. The photo is here to guide me, not to impose any demands and you know, be the be all and end all of the process. All right, so eyebrows, super soft. Eyebrows also have second notes. They're not flat or the same. Look at whatever area you're painting and find out within that area if there's something slightly darker. Okay, good. So once I have the values, then I'm going to go back inside. I'm going to go to the surrounding areas. Remember, second notes on the object and see how it gets integrated with the surrounding areas. And in regards of the eyebrows, it means, in my case, that I'm just going to bring a little bit of that skin tone around it. But on that other side, because there's not as much light, the skin reads a little bit darker. So I always have to find those distinctions in order to create an effect that feels more organic and well integrated. Yeah, I think that's good. I think maybe this can go a little bit more. Am I done with the hair? No. Am I done with the eyebrows? Absolutely not. But I am going to move forward because I'm better off developing the rest a little bit more than trying to nail something down. Mostly it's impossible to nail anything down because only as I work with the rest, I'll be able to find out more relationships. So all right, so then what? So I'm just gonna bring some, let me see if I can do, I'm gonna do the glasses first, just because it's in front of the face. So I think it could be a good idea. I'm gonna bring some yellow. I wanna create a chalky effect. Oops. With white and yellow, because I feel like I need to sketch them right now. I need to sketch the glasses. So there we go. Oh yeah, that's good. I'm not trying to be exacting. My pulse is like a sort of like shaky, which is fine. I have in the back of my mind, I constantly have that painting, that Monet painting, and how his son was painted, you know, with very little detail and a few brushstrokes. I have, here we go. And then I'm going to do the other side. I'm sketching right now. So right now I'm just drawing. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to bring back the frames that I sketched at the very beginning, but they got lost with them. I want to bring them back because I feel like those are in front of the face. So I just want to bring those right now. Yeah, let me even bring the rest of the frame because there's some reddish notes. Oops, that's way too dark. Well, it's okay. So some reddish notes. Jean Monnet, his son, he did become a painter, but he wasn't as good as his father, obviously. So, I mean, obviously. Oh, I need cobalt blue. I need cobalt blue. So now we have cobalt. And ultramarine is not our favorite anymore. Let's bring some cobalt. Yeah. Cobalt is better than ultramarine. It's, I mean, come on, it's so blue. So cobalt mixed with some of the light blue because it's so strong. I'm just kind of like sketching the frames that also, since they're colorful, I'm bringing the color there, the bits of color. So okay, I think that's good. All right, yeah, I think that's good. And then what else? We did I did the second notes there. I'm gonna bring the skin color again. Find out, apply the tones, and then find out how the tones are contextualized with the surroundings. And the surroundings are very clear here. There is, oops, I need to clean the brush, obviously. There is ecru, let me see, it's a little bit with pink. I'm making a new color for, I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's very good. The shadow of the glasses inside of the face. Just gonna bring it and without excessive detail. I think that's the key also. This is not a competition, as I said, to see who paints better. I mean, who paints like Franz Hals? No, it's not. So not too much detail. It's important. And then just bring the soft, lighter tones outside. I find my more interesting, although it always feels challenging. Portraits with someone wearing glasses, it's an opportunity to really bring something that may not be visible, again, light, and play with variations of it. So yeah, it may look more challenging, but it will give you more rewards. So yeah, it will be more satisfying. The blue, just gonna keep the blue, and I'm just gonna blend this a tad. I think that's good. And I'll just bring the brown on this area. There's a little bit of color right here. And we have a few minutes, so I'm just gonna bring the skin tone and the rest of the face. This area is much lighter, so much lighter. So I'm just gonna bring this. I'm pixelating the brush strokes. I'm not even fully painting things, just pixelating. So in other words, I'm not, I think that's good. I am not entirely covering things completely or fully. There's still the background wash. And what I'm doing is I'm just pixelating some of the pieces. But again, always constantly ask yourself where, how is the light reflected on every single surface that you're painting? Because you're gonna see things in a different way. Yeah, and then this is just gonna have a little bit more of the mix between those two. I think this one needs to. Closing the gaps that still show the charcoal could be a good idea. But right now, I'm not gonna rush. I'm just gonna try to pixelate one thing at a time. And I trust that as a combination, it's just gonna create an effect. Yeah, so the nose, I think that's, I just brought lighter on one side, darker on the other side. I'm gonna bring the white a little bit higher. And then there is the jawline. And then there's the neck. Okay, so go really, really slowly, but I think it's building up nicely. So I'm shaping up because right now, you know, with the wash, these are the remains of the wash. It's kind of like all over the place. And there's the gap between colors, but I have to make sure that all these things don't affect the way I feel about my work, because that's the problem when things are not developed enough, and then I feel, oh my gosh, this is not looking like the photograph, and this is like a terrible. That's it. Then I lose control. So I do it. I know that that's not the end of it. So I just know that there's so many things there that need to be tweaked. But part of the benefits of painting is that it creates, or it's meant to create, a sense of stillness in which you can make calm decisions. That's why it's so healthy and good for us. So it's like a riptide. If we fight against that stillness, then we're just going to be further away from the shore. So I know that things may not look like this, but I'm not done yet. I feel like I need to do so much more. So one bit at a time. Try not to overwork. Um, question yourself. Ask yourself how the light affects each of the areas you're painting. I think that's probably the most valuable piece of advice that out of this webinar. You know, because the light, it's the third subject here. On this painting, probably it's the first. I think someone said that, you know, the light is the subject, and then there's everything else. And I have 4 minutes, and I still feel, when I just could bring some of the lighter notes on this part of the figure, and see if I can just, sometimes I like to build by bringing highlights, especially on lighter areas. And the reason is because, as we know, painting with white over other colors, it's much easier. So in this case, I'm not going darker to lighter. What I'm doing is I'm using the lighter paint, and I try to carve out something there using white, and let the dust or muddy area just be the darker part of the equation. I think that's working. It's amazing how little we need to make something look like something. That wasn't very college-like. All right, so I think, yeah, collarbone, I think that's good. A little bit lighter. So one thing will always lead you to the next. There's always one piece of information when you're terrified of something, and then you apply it or you execute your decision. Uh, Generally speaking, it may not give you the result that you want right away, but there's always somewhere something. There's always the silver lining. There's always something there that will hold your hand to the next step. Something in what we're painting will always help us in moving the painting forward. That's the difference between thinking everything's wrong and thinking, okay, now I did this. What else can I do? How else can I develop this? How can I push it forward? There's always an answer. There's always something from that area that's going to say, oh, well, you forgot about this, or you didn't consider that, or you need to make this area work on the drawing. It's always like that. Yeah, so patience. Patience. I can work by value right now, the darker part. And yeah, I think that's going to be my last line, separation of the shirt. Okay, so obviously this is a major work in progress, but I'm just kind of like really happy about the portrait. I think I achieved more than I expected, considering that it's a portrait. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do is we just gonna take a 10-minute break. Let's make the break a little less than 10 minutes. What do you guys think? So it's 14. Let's make it 5 minutes, and you don't even have to be here in 5 minutes, but let's just try to gain some time because yeah. So in 5 minutes, so at 1:20, we'll just meet you here again. All right. Take care. Stretch your back or your shoulders, and drink water. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay. So hi everyone, and I just uploaded my progress. And if you have time, you can upload it. First of all, you guys know the critique time, or it's not criticizing. I make a distinction because I think I need to learn more about the word critique, but this is supposed to help us all in regards of like bringing new ideas and things that we get inspired by. So we encourage you to upload the work because it helps everybody, including myself. It's, of course, it's not mandatory. That's and but yeah, if you can upload it and we can talk about it, and just gonna share. I'm gonna share mine, and that will give you a little bit of time if you want. In that sense. And so here we go. And so there's a little bit of a distortion with the camera and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm gonna work on it on Wednesday, and if I can this weekend. But I think I'm happier than I thought. I love the subject. I think it's a very contemporary painting, and I love that we're combining tradition with current events. So yeah, I'm really happy. That's right. Oh, Darlene, this is amazing. My goodness. So I think, let me see if I can, no, now you can. Yeah, people can unmute themselves. Yeah, so you, oh, I'm sorry. So we can unmute. So Darlene, you want to go over this? I think this looks
Yes,
incredible.
actually, when you started showing how to do hair
Yeah.
about a half hour ago, I stopped painting to just listen to you. So,
Oh,
this is, I think I stopped painting around 12:45.
okay. Darlene, I absolutely love this painting. I love the composition. Good job in making sure that nothing distracts from the subject. I love the fact, which is very important, that you show the keyboard, because there's not much of the vertical aspect of the hold on one second, let me just do this. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. The keyboard is very important because that completes the narrative. Otherwise, the expression of the face is fantastic. I think you're getting better with drawing and sketching. I keep saying this. So I think it's incredible. I'm going to bring the photo of it. And yes, I would just work on the hair. I would be careful not to overwork the face, because I just love the fragmented brushstrokes on the face. It's incredible. The sense of sadness on the face, it's good. The posture.
It has an Egon Sheila, doesn't it? The face?
Yeah,
it has like
yeah.
Egon Sheila looks with. The face is incredible. The expression.
Yeah.
What are you saying? I don't understand what you said. What? I didn't hear you, Lois.
The artist Egon Sheila.
Oh, okay.
Just the face reminds me of that. One of my favorite artists.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move the image right next to the photo, and then just for the purposes of letting the photo see if there's anything else that we want to. So this is the image, and then this is the photo. Um, Again, I mean, I was like thinking that there's this part of the chair, and I thought that there was something on the other side, but there isn't, and I wouldn't put anything. So it's good that that happens. If anything, Darlene, I would say, oh no, never mind. The chair is darker. That's good. I would make this more cropped. So it actually, this line, the edge of the computer, I think that edge is important. So I would continue the edge and make it like a cleaner cut. And I would also make sure that, I would consider closing the gap between the figure and the edge, because uh, that would make the computer keyboard look like it's really in front of her. Because right now that slight gap,
Oh,
it doesn't feel like it's super cropped. So I
I'm
would just
kind of
bring,
worried about how to do the computer.
the computer looks pretty amazing. I have to say, it just looks really good.
Oh,
On that computer, the only thing I would say is this, because you have the cables. I would not do the cables. You don't need to do the cables, but I feel like on the computer there is this interesting separation between the computer keyboard and the table. And I noticed that on the side there's a little bit of darkness, so I would work on this side of the painting so it looks like the keyboard has some thickness on the side and then it's sitting on the table. So maybe what I would also do is continue the line of the table a little bit straight. Yeah, definitely. So you see this line of the table? I
yes.
would just
That
cut
was
it.
supposed to be a cord up there, but I'll take that out.
Yeah, so that I would just give a little bit of TLC on that. The computer itself, to me, it just reads well. I don't think if it needs much more detail. I think before any detail there, certainly clarify the distinction between the thickness of the computer, the edge of the table, because that's going to give a lot of information. And then after that, what I would do is work on the hair. There's something really cool about the glow on the hair. I would definitely work on values on the hair. I like the fact that there is this darker, where she has the hair behind the ear. So this tension of the hair is really excellent. The darkness of this, it's beautiful. And then the rest of the hair falls forward. I think that's what I would do. I love the darkness of the hair right here. And then there is the reflection of the window perhaps from outside. So there's a light reflection that I would try to capture. So I think the hair has a lot of work to do, a lot of detail.
Mhm.
But it's marvelous. It's beautiful, Darlene. And it's,
That picture struck me because it looked so much like my daughter at that age with the
oh.
pout, the little pout. And I'm going, oh my God, everybody's going to think it's my daughter.
Oh, well, yeah, even more, but even more meaningful, I would say. But it's a great stage. It's a great stage.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, good job. Yeah, I'm glad you painted it. This looks beautiful. I'm gonna do another refresh. Ooh, Julie, that sketch is so delicious. Ah, oh, stop. Whoa, you guys. I mean, come, stop. Amazing. Okay, Julie, I'm just gonna go to your this is just bananas. It's
But
so good.
oh, I'm struggling with this. The shirt is so hard to do, and
Okay,
if you well,
let me just
the picture was very much more childish. I mean, my painting was, and then something I did to it made him look less like a little boy to me. But yeah, what can you give me? And I didn't know if I should darken the whole background because then it does look more like night.
Okay.
I didn't get that far.
Oh, I see. I see. Ah, I see. I see. I see. Okay, let's kind of like oh, these paintings, you guys, it's just incredible. Okay, so this is the painting. All right. So yeah. Okay.
Are you switching in between? I don't see.
Oh, wait, sorry. I now it's on. Yeah, I'm switching.
Okay, right.
between-
So,
Mhm.
yeah, give me
I
some advice.
definitely, I mean, I love this image. When I kind of like, I decided to do Henry's portrait, but
Right.
when I was looking at all the images, this one is the one that stood out for me. So good job in selecting it, because I think it's kind of like really interesting. Not only because of the laptop, it's the light for me. It's so strong, and then he's obviously sleeping completely disconnected. But there's something really cool about the foreshortening of the figure.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
really interesting. So in that sense, I agree with you. I would really darken the entire room, because that would bring focus to just this area, the computer
Mhm.
and his face. I think.
Yeah, I just didn't have the time, and then I thought,
Right.
oh, do I just put dark out there, or do I add the red? I like the warmth of the red,
Oh yeah.
but it's it's odd, but it's
Yeah.
great. You know,
I
it does.
would, before you add any color,
Mhm.
I would just go by the color of this side of the wall, like this
Okay,
Payne's gray, but
right.
with a little bit of gray maybe to make it chalkier.
Mhm.
Because I feel, yeah, I feel like that's going to bring attention to, sorry, it's going to bring attention to the light reflected on the monitor. And I like the posture a lot. If anything, I would say, I don't know if you want to go there, but
Yeah.
I would even make the hand bigger.
Okay.
Because
And
I
his
feel
head
like,
got chopped a little bit. His head was bigger also, but I chopped it a little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
Just because of the extreme foreshortening, because
Uh-huh.
the camera is very low, and so you know, it's very foreshortened. So if you exaggerate the size of the arm, you're going to create an incredible effect of depth in
Mhm.
the scene, because that's going to be really almost as big as the head, and then the
Mhm.
rest is going to slowly become smaller. It will create a great perspective
Okay.
on the
And it
piece.
should be really dark too. It's
I think
interesting
so.
seeing it on, see, I have it on my iPad and I can't see a lot of the shadow that I can see now on your screen.
Oh,
You know, it was hard to pull it apart, but it's also, I'm in a very bright space in the garage.
oh
So
yeah,
it's hard for me to read the iPad. It's like, oh my God, what am I
right.
seeing? But his head could be bigger too, I feel. The whole,
Yeah, if you
yeah,
want, you
hair.
know, maybe a little bit. I would say the head, not the face, but you could just make the head a little bit more and see a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. See how that goes. I feel like the feet are probably too pronounced and too much, because
Uh-huh.
right, they come forward too much. Although I like that position. I think if you darken the background, the feet are not going to be as high in
Right.
contrast, and naturally they're going to just fade against the background. So that should do it.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for the shirt? I mean, do I just have to block it out more? So block out the turquoise and then block out the white, block it, and then just add the bit of wrinkles.
Yeah, I think the shirt, I think you did a good job. I would probably on the back here, I would probably,
Bigger.
yeah, I would just make it like darker, because right now it feels very drawn
Uh-huh.
with a white line. And there is a lighter line, but I would break this up. You know, I would break
Okay.
the that line, that continuous line, yeah, fragmented, because some of the darker areas on the wrinkles, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this feels like even so. What you have here is two parts. The part that branches off the shoulder, so this almost creates one first layer,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just goes in almost as the waist of the figure.
Mhm.
So what, this is all too continuous. So I would just do a little bit more of the shoulder, even bring it more to the left and
Mhm.
lower this a tad.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have more of a break between the line of the shoulder and then the line that defines the waist. So
The
because
way
right now
comes
it's
up.
too
Okay.
continuous and it reads almost like one and it's not fragmented enough. So that's what I would do.
Okay. That's all. I mean, there's a lot to do on this painting. I didn't think it would be so hard. It's very difficult.
I love, yeah, it's challenging, but the more challenging it is, oops, hold on 1 second. Someone's, hold on. Someone outside? Sorry, you guys, 1 sec.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's
Julie,
great.
I don't think
Hi.
you're looking too far into the details. If you look at the painting as a whole, it really is beautiful and says exactly, it has the feeling. So keep, don't lose the feeling when you go back into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good to hear because I get deep in the weeds of like, oh my God, that doesn't look right.
No, because the light on his face from the computer, you can tell the light is coming from the computer, which is just brilliant. So
Yeah, brilliant.
I think it's really fresh and expressive. I wouldn't worry too much.
Okay.
I agree. And I would say, the shadow from the face,
Yeah.
I feel like it just spills down too much. You could bring, because the color of the sheets, the color of the pillow, and it's so nice to have that bluish tone to sort of like frame the figure. And I like the fact that it's also very tonal on the shirt. So there's something really calming and peaceful. I would just bring it a little bit more at the bottom of the.
You mean bring the shadow lower?
I'm sorry, no. Bring
the
the sheets and reduce the darkness of the shadow because right now, the shadow is too thick, too black, and too low. So I would just thin it out and bring the color of the sheets because it's really nice. The sheets are beautiful.
Well, it's hard doing that nose. I see now the nose is up too high, probably the nostril. It's not really the nostril. It's
there's so many glows and shadows. It's I think you got a really good you got a really good point. I mean, you got a really good perspective because there's so much going on here and it's a lot, but definitely reduce the darkness because I feel like it's way too graphic right now.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll work on it some more, hopefully.
It's phenomenal, Julie.
Well, thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you for a great subject matter again.
Yes, I mean, yes, challenging, but this will be much more rewarding.
Overall. Yep. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah. Okay. So I am just gonna go and Lois, this is just amazing.
Let's try to get that ugly computer light.
Well, there's nothing ugly about it. It's just gorgeous.
That's 8th grade right there.
So I love many things. Is there a photo? Did you upload a photo as well?
Yeah.
All right, let me just pause this because compositionally, I think this is very interesting, but oh my gosh, there's so many amazing paintings. This is just so good, you guys. All right, let me see if I can just bring it up and then if I can see the photo. Oops, I don't see the photo.
No. I think it's on there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. All right, so let's kind of like, I'm just gonna bring it up and then here's the image and then here's the photo. Okay, great. Oh, it's so amazing. I mean, it's so amazing. Okay, so the color palette is amazing. The composition, I really love the exaggeration of the computer on our faces. There's something really cool about the point of view being so close to the computer, like really close, and then the figure, it's in the middle, but the sense of perspective is really great. I love what you did with the light or the yellow on the background. It's a good way to to clarify it. Um,
Yeah.
and the
It's
dog.
really like, that's a peek into her room, and she's always like, get out.
Right.
You open up and that's what you see. She's in class.
Right.
Crazy.
So great. So a couple of things. I mean, for me, the biggest would be the conceptual aspect before I go in, because I feel like, there's a sense of excitement in her face. So unless you're clear that that's what you wanted, then it's perfect. But know that I feel like her face here, it's sort of like more
Disinterested.
rigorous, or there's a sense of her, this is tedious. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, routine. There's a sense of repetition that it's really clear on the face. Here it's like happiness. I'm excited. What's next? So conceptually, it's a difference. There's a difference. So that's it. You don't have to change anything or make anyone look sad. This is not about that.
Yeah,
But know that conceptually it's different. I love the size of the dog. I think you did a good job. I mean, it's a different size, and I think that's really good. I would make a distinction between the surface, the metallic surface, and the keyboard, because right now it just feels really, they're really similar, and it's it doesn't give you a sense of like having several visual planes. I love that you brought this light from behind, because I like the fact that there's light that bounces on her temple. So that's really nice. So there's a conundrum right here, because you have a lot of lights going on. You have this light from the window that creates a high contrast. So I feel like you have this right here, but at the same time you have the glow of the screen, and which you capture. But I don't know. I would just bring more of the curtain look here.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, so it looks like the natural light is kind of being blocked. It's kind of metaphorical for that, like.
And you have it. You actually have like some of that curtain almost look. Yeah, I just think like, there's so much that it's so interesting that potentially, the fact that there's this, the brightest spot in the entire image is that window. And that window creates the silhouette of the figures. So I feel like if you just create an open space there, you're gonna have computer, head, and then something that's gonna define the head in the background.
Yeah, okay, I think so too. Got it.
Also, I would, if you wanted to, I would just kind of like define a little bit the forearm of holding the dog, perhaps. And yeah, and that's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's an incredible painting.
No, I think it can go a little further though, definitely.
I think you could push it a little further. Yeah. Consider, I mean, you're an amazing painter, so just consider it. And obviously you're very in tune with your intuition and you have great taste. And exhibit A of that is this amazing painting. So yeah, a few more touch-ups here and there. I think for me, the biggest touch-up, it's the concept. I want you to make sure that you're okay with that emotion.
Yeah.
As long as you are, then perfect.
It's harder to capture because, she's my daughter, besides the photograph. She's really hard to capture. I know exactly what she's thinking. I gotta see if I can figure it out.
Right. No, it's mostly for me. It's the mouth. I would say. If you could just tweak the mouth a little bit, so it doesn't have to be sad, but perhaps a little bit more contemplative or meditative expression. It doesn't have to read like in a negative connotation, obviously, and it doesn't have to abide by any sort of like rule. But just making sure that you get what you want, you know, so
Right.
that's the bottom line. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Amazing paintings.
I mean,
I'd
Lois,
love to see them all together. That's so amazing.
yeah,
Phone.
I so appreciate, I mean, to me, I feel like we're getting paid. I mean, we're getting rewarded. Sorry, and that much more because you guys create such beauty and it's so inspiring. I mean, we started this with nothing, and you guys created something that is so valuable and meaningful. I just feel, number one, so much gratitude, but number two, it's like so much inspiration. I mean,
Me too. Good job, everybody.
um, Lois, how do you feel about Banksy?
Dude, he's a dude. He's a dude that whatever he says is gold for you.
Okay, good, good answer.
You know, whatever.
I love it.
That's cool. I like what he's doing with the refugees, though.
Right.
Putting his mouth is there, so I'm not going to be too critical.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, good.
Oh my God, look at these paintings.
I
They're so
know.
amazing.
And this
All
is
right, see you
Sarah,
guys
right?
here.
Thanks, Lois. Yeah. Oh, Sarah, I'm guessing it's Sarah Jennings. Yes, right? Yes. This is so exquisite. Sarah, I okay. Good. I felt that your last figure, which was the summer, the Berthe Morisot inspired figure, was a little bit of a challenge because what you got, it was a little bit not quite there. But I'm so happy that you redeemed yourself with this painting, which proves the point that once in a while we have to do figures, even if we don't want to, just because it's important to get challenged by that. And yeah, you chose something that when you chose it, I thought it was exquisite, but the challenge here was the hands. To me, the hands are the second portraits or the second faces. Hands are very expressive and they're as challenging as the face. So you brought two hands and that's like a triple whammy. You had the face and the two hands. I think you resolved it beautifully. There's nothing that feels noisy or interferes with what you did. And I love the color palette. And again, the perspective, they're very good point of view to choose something so close to the computer. So what I'm gonna do right now, Sarah, is to pause this and really quickly, I'm just gonna bring the photograph so we can just, oh my gosh, these are so good. We can just, okay, good, perfect. And let me see. And I'm just gonna move forward. So obviously this is the image and this is the photograph. So great job. The computer, Sarah Jennings, looks better than the computer on your painting looks better than the photograph. So great example. I love the rusty color that you added. Talk about second notes on the back of the computer. Exquisite, brilliant, amazing, masterful, perfect. Better than the photograph. There's something really cool about it. I would just give a couple of notes on the surface of the computer. I love the fact that you cropped it so dramatically. Good job. That's the difference between not being in control and being very intentional. So compositionally, I think it's good. And I even don't mind the fact that the head's like cropped on the edge on top. It doesn't look like out of your control. So yeah, I would say I would just work on the surface of the table. So this looks like it's going down a little bit. I would just make it as straight because you have a lot of really straight diagonal lines. And that's the reason why this feels very windshield wiper like. I know that's terrible to say, but I would just do that. Maybe I would just work on the a little bit more time on the hands, especially the relationship between the skin and the sleeve. I feel like it's not quite there yet, especially because the sleeves are a little bit bigger, and I would just work on that correlation between the width of the forearm, the width of the sleeve, something easy. This hand, it's exquisite. I just feel like there is such a really delicate mannerism. I love that period in painting where they really took care of the hands, and their hands were very expressive. So this gives me that kind of like feeling. So I think it's just really good. I would say there's a lot of work that I would do in regards of lights and shadows on the face. Because something really good about the image, although it's a studio photograph, this is like a really artificial lighting. It doesn't have the intricacy of other images that we've seen, just because everything's very much lit and really bright. But still, there's some shadows, projected shadows on the face and then on the hair. So I would possibly kind of like work on that and darkening certain shadows to push back and to create a sense of like things getting squeezed. I would also definitely work on the hair and creating a little bit more contrast between, it's going to help you define the hand, but the values on the hair, they have a soft transition from lighter to darker. I would, I would work on that. I think you could do something redrawing the hairline. I feel like, you know, you could bring down the forehead, or you could just shrink the forehead a little bit and bring down the hairline a little bit, a tad lower, which would give you more sense of like the rest of the head. And I feel like, I think definitely that could just help you. So a few tweaks. I trust that you are already having all those things on your list, and then when you do the next pass, you're gonna touch them up. But exquisite.
Thank you. I believe it or not, I lost a full hour during our session because I started late, and then I got a call from a donor who I've been waiting for this call for months, and he talked for 45 minutes.
Oh, crap.
So I'm seeing all these things that are out of proportion or whatever, but at least I have a good base, I think, to jump off from.
An amazing base, I would say, for the hour. That computer is better than the photograph.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I look forward to working on this.
How was your experience? Did you find it challenging? Were you kind of like, damn it, I don't want to paint this, but then did you find some reward out of it?
You know, I found it very challenging, but it was really important to me to pick an image of a young girl, because I think that it's often assumed that boys have an easy time, girls don't have an easy time. There's some gender power in showing this young girl who's clearly, to me, very self-confident, but completely confounded by the situation because she's so bummed out about it. It's not that she can't do it. It's just, oh my God, why am I still looking at this? And I thought this image conveyed that really strongly, and I was drawn to it from the beginning.
And now your painting is worth 1,000 times more because of what you said. Really, I think that's very good. And I also think that this gives me the opportunity to say that when we select an image, it's not random, and it's not just because we like it. There's something about it that makes us, or they speak to us in the sense that we feel reflected on them. So I feel like what you said and what you did, it's as much, and what everyone did, is as much of a self-portrait as it is of just randomly picking one image.
Well, I love this assignment, and I think that it's almost a bookend to what we started 27 weeks ago, which is very interesting to me. We've morphed into this Zoom society and everything at a distance on this little box. And I think that these images really convey that perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't have the marketing skills, but we should reach out to companies and say, you know, you wanna use our images as illustration of the time for whatever article. Yeah, so pay us, and we'll just we'll share them with you, because this speaks of right now. It speaks of today. It's very contemporary, and they're beautiful images, and they're incredible paintings. So I agree. It exceeded my expectations. I know, just amazing.
Thanks so much. It was really fun to work on it.
Thanks, Sarah, as always. Great job. And I'm just gonna go to the next one. Okay, Dina, excuse me, but this is so brilliant. I absolutely, is there a photo? I don't know if there's a photo or not. Let me just kind of.
I didn't upload the photo. I just
Okay.
found one, and then I was kind of, I didn't follow it exactly. So at first I was going to capture more. I cropped this in. I swapped out the one I originally posted up because everybody's seen more cropped in, which makes more sense. And
Okay.
so I have more stuff to do, but I'm just, I was happy that I got that far.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think I am in love with the expression of the face, which is the basis, or what we were going for. Something about this face that it's really expressive. The frustration, the anger, the something really beautiful, and the way you captured it. I like the fit, almost like fists on each side of the face. Again, the computer taking center stage, and I love that it almost takes half of the painting, which is great. The way it opens, the background is great. It's not noisy, doesn't interfere or distract with what's going on. The only thing, and I don't need to see anything, it's the fact that there is the elbow, and then there's that, which seems like it's the edge of the table. So there is a disconnect, a spatial disconnect that I can't put together, because it looks like the table ends here, and then I don't know where the elbow stands on. So I would just maybe work on that, or consider doing something so it feels like the elbow sits on the same surface as the laptop. That would be the only comment.
Well, it was supposed to be, the lighter color is where the floor and the wall. So I guess I can designate that. So her elbows are not leaning on something, they're in the air.
Wow. So in that sense, I would possibly bring the floor higher, because there's something really powerful about the fact that it's not even supporting her face. It's even more powerful. So the other option, consider either what I just said, or the option of bringing the line of the floor a little bit higher than the elbow.
Okay.
So it's not flushed with the base of the elbow, because I think that's, or maybe bring a different color for the floor, so it looks different than the table, or maybe the table could have a different color. So you have many options, but visually, I'm glad that I'm just explaining this, because that's how I receive it. And but yeah, the face is amazing. I love the expression of the mouth. Yeah, I like the touch of color on her shirt. I think that's really good. But I know that you're going to work on this a little bit more. Yeah. I think the arms could have a little bit more work in regards of like the drawing, because this is very round. So the distinction between wrist and forearm and back of the hand, those things, consider them. The face is excellent. I wouldn't mess with it that much. Computer is great. But yeah, that's where I would put extra time if you invest.
Okay.
But what an incredible image. Dina,
Thanks.
this is extraordinary.
you.
Extraordinary.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna do a final refresh. Yeah, okay, so amazing paintings, you guys. This is better than what I expected or what I thought. I'm really happy. Again, we feel very grateful that you created. I feel like the act of creation is priceless. So, and you did it again. I feel very humbled that you guys took the time out on your schedules, and then you did something that's so remarkable. I find the paintings modern, contemporary. They surprise me in the fact that I feel like that it's very current. I think this initially was sort of like a game of connecting 2 centuries, but now I feel like it's more than that. It's documentation of what's going on. And Sarah, I agree with you. This sort of like living in this Zoom society. This perfectly explains. Yeah. So yeah, explains more than what we initially intended to do.